The 2019 NHL draft certainly provided lots of entertainment when it came to NHL trades. We saw some pretty significant deals end up going down, but there were also some other pretty significant deals being discussed that didn't quite end up happening, including PK Subban almost going to a different team rather than New Jersey, and the New York Rangers came very close to trading Chris Kreider as well. We'll get into all the details of that coming up next. Welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I've said, we already know that the 2019 NHL draft has come and gone, and we saw some pretty significant trades. We've discussed all that here on the channel before. However, there were some other deals that came very close to happening that we get a little bit more details emerging here now that I want to let you know to see what your thoughts are if they would have actually taken place, how the landscape in NHL could have changed here a little bit. Now, as we know, PK Subban ended up being traded out of Nashville, heading over to the New Jersey Devils, and what appeared to be a pretty good deal for the Devils. Now, the main thing that New Jersey did that other teams that were inquiring could not do is absorb the full $9 million cap hit. It's believed here and reported by Elliotte Friedman that there were 4 teams that were believed to really be in tough negotiations here with Nashville trying to acquire the blue liner. Now, of course, we don't know all 4 teams, but we are suspected to know 3. Of course, 2 of them are Toronto and Vancouver, as well as the team who made the acquisition, the New Jersey Devils. For the Leafs to have any chance to make that deal work, it looks like though they were asking Nashville to retain about $3 million in salary, and obviously the Maple Leafs would have had some players off their roster going back to Nashville in order to free up some cap space to make this happen. So of course, obviously that didn't end up working out here as Nashville really needed to dump more salary than what Toronto was willing to take on. But the deal that came to closer was the Vancouver Canucks. Now, apparently, according to Elliotte Friedman here, a couple of the pieces that were believed to have been requested by Nashville to be included in the trade were young forward Adam Gaudette and defenseman Ben Hutton. Now, it's also possible that their first-round pick might have been in play there, but we can't really say that for sure with the PK Subban deal. Of course, the Canucks were also talking to the Avalanche about acquiring Tyson Barrie. Elliotte Friedman's latest 31 Thoughts blog as well also confirms that the Canucks were not as close to acquiring Tyson Barrie as that some may have thought, although discussions certainly were going down. It's believed for sure in that deal that the Avalanche were looking for their first-round pick plus another piece to potentially make that happen. But of course, PK Subban could have ended up going to Vancouver instead of going to New Jersey. Obviously, that would have changed things quite a bit here for the Canucks. It was rumored that the hometown team hosting the draft were looking to make a fairly big splash, and of course adding a top defenseman is certainly something that the Canucks have been discussing and certainly could benefit from for sure. Obviously, giving up some young pieces like Gaudette and Hutton certainly would have been key going back to Nashville to make that happen. So I'm just curious to know if you're a Canucks fan, would you have been down for that kind of trade at all, looking at acquiring PK Subban in exchange for Hutton and Gaudette? Now, there could have been other pieces involved. That's the only pieces that's kind of been alluded to here that the Canucks were being requested to include in the deal. Of course, Ben Hutton wasn't even qualified as a restricted free agent. However, the Canucks are still negotiating with him, trying to work out a lower contract to keep him in Vancouver. But obviously, they don't value Ben Hutton as much as his contract right now. So it's a little bit surprising that they might have been a little leery of including him in the deal. Obviously, Nashville could have benefited from having a lower valued contract for a defenseman coming back in return, and as well a young forward like Adam Gaudette. So let me know your thoughts if you're a Canucks fan and you had that opportunity to make that trade. Were you shy away because of the cap hit, or does the package involving the players going the other way concern you at all, or would you have rather have seen Jim Benning go ahead and pull the trigger here to make this happen? Now, the other trade, like I said, that came pretty close, probably not quite as close as PK Subban here, was Chris Kreider being traded from the New York Rangers over to the Colorado Avalanche. Now, of course, the Avalanche, as we know, have tons of cap space. They're rumored to be major players coming up here in free agency. Would not surprise me at all to see them make some major acquisitions. Of course, they do have a big-time RFA, Mikko Rantanen, to sign, but even with that contract being looked after, they're still going to have a lot of cap space here as well. According to Elliotte Friedman's blog here, though, it indicates that the main sticking point was that the Rangers really wanted Colorado's first-round pick in 2019, which, of course, they ended up using to draft forward Alex Newhook. Now, personally, if I'm the Avalanche, I think they made themselves a wise move. I wouldn't be completely opposed to acquiring Chris Kreider. They do need secondary scoring. They could use that secondary scoring to have a veteran leadership component as well. So I can certainly see how Kreider could be a fit. He's only got a year left on his contract, so there's not a lot of long-term risk there. But to give up your first-round pick, which you ended up getting, pretty solid-looking prospect forward here, I really think that is a little bit too much of a price tag. Now, of course, if I'm a different team picking lower in the first round and that player's a little bit less likely to develop to an NHL player or further down the road, maybe I consider making that acquisition. But of course, we talked about Chris Kreider and potential trades before. It's believed that the Rangers are either going to trade him or sign him to a contract extension here coming up over this offseason. It's not quite clear what direction they're going to head into, but many believe that his days might be numbered in New York with all the young forwards that they've acquired and the direction that the team is heading, that they may not really want to keep around a guy like Chris Kreider. Now, they very well might decide to extend him. I can't say that with any kind of certainty. It's going to depend on the trade market and what they might be able to acquire in return. So if you're an Avalanche fan, I'd love to hear from you. I'm sure you probably would be happy that that deal didn't take place, but I'd like to get your thoughts just to see down below. And if you're a Rangers fan, what would your thought have been being able to trade Chris Kreider in exchange for the Avalanche's first-round pick and possibly given the opportunity to add yet another great prospect to your already really solid-looking prospect pool here already? So, of course, as always, want to hear your thoughts and comments down below, and we'll continue the conversation. Now, of course, these trades never actually came to be, but they're just fun to talk about as they were heavily discussed at the draft and came close. So sometimes it's fun just to look back and see what could have been had they actually decided to move ahead here. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you consider subscribing as well. There's going to be all kinds of content coming here soon as well. There should be lots of trade activity, and we have NHL free agency coming up here on July 1st. So stay tuned to Top Shelf Hockey. I'll keep you all up to date with all the breaking news. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.